It's 121, 122 degrees outside right now. It's kind of ranging.
This video is brought to you by Sporlan, quality, integrity, and tradition.
We've got our work cut out for us on this one today. We've got a Bryant heat pump here. This is an older R22 unit, and we have a refrigerant leak. We had another tech that previously diagnosed it. The indoor blower assembly, I'm sure you guys can hear that, is vibrating pretty bad. So we're gonna pull the top on this because I believe he said that there was a wire that shorted out against one of the refrigeration lines, and he thinks it was caused by the indoor blower assembly. So we had actually already quoted this, and we're gonna go ahead and pull the unit apart and then repair it. We've got a blower assembly rebuild, and then we're gonna go ahead and fix whatever we need to fix on the leak. And hopefully I have the right dryers and check valves to be able to redo the dryer situation, because this doesn't have a biflow to my understanding. I believe it has 2 strainers, so we're gonna get that figured out too. So all right, we got the top taken apart. I can definitely see where wire shorted out right there. I don't know if that's the leak or not, but I also see oil down below. So I'm pretty sure this is what we thought the leak was, but I need to put some nitrogen in this to make sure the accumulator's not messed up. This whole thing is just vibrating like crazy. There's no telling if this compressor is going to be bad too. It just seems, you know, sometimes you're blown away that they actually fix this stuff. All right, so that's definitely the leak right there. But my concern is why is there what appears to be oil down at the bottom? Maybe it's not though. Okay, well, definitely gonna fix that one up, and we'll do another nitrogen test. All right, I got this sanded up about as good as I can get it. I might get in there a little bit more, but we're gonna lay a couple beads all over those spots where it's rubbed out. All right, we got in there. We just laid a fat bead all over those spots, nice and thick. It's nice droopy. You can see the nitrogen still flowing through. We're gonna give it a good little purge real quick, and then we'll do a pressure test once it cools. Got to be careful too, because you notice the smoke coming out, and you don't want it to go into the return and pull into the building. So you got to watch out for that. You'll freak out customers, especially if they got people in the building or duct detectors. All right, we're gonna do a pressure test now. Pressurize this guy up, and then hopefully we hold. I'm hoping that the moisture, or what looks to be like dirt stuck to the lines, is just because that's the accumulator. So let's hope, and it's just wet, you know, so the dirt will stick to it. We're probably gonna get this guy up to about 150 psi, and then see if it holds, how long it holds for. My personal experience with doing tightness tests or pressure tests is once you do the initial pressurize, you want to let it sit for a couple minutes just to let everything equalize out, especially if there's any refrigerant potentially still mixed in there, because you'll get some false readings where numbers will continue to change. So I give it, you know, 3-4 minutes, and then when it stops moving, going up and down, then I hit enter and start the tightness test. So on this one, we're at 154.3. We're gonna go ahead and hit enter, and then this is gonna time it for us. Now, theoretically, you should take the suction line temperature clamp and put it on there too. I usually don't do that. I usually just look at the pressure. All right, this is good enough for me. I'm not gonna stress this too much. 0.3 in 9 minutes, we're fine. So now the hard part, that was the easy part, fixing the leak. The hard part is gonna be the dryers, and if I'm gonna be able to change both of them. This one I know, no problem, but I have to look and see which one is the heating and the cooling. I think this is going to be my cooling one. Yeah, the direction's that way, so I know I can get to that one easily. It's the heating dryer that's going to be hard to get to. I wouldn't even call it a dryer, it's more or less a strainer. All right, I found it easiest just to pull the condenser, 3 braze joints. Then that's the easy one to get to. This is the hard one to get to, so that way I can remaneuver all this stuff, take care of it, and then put it back together. Okay, we're kind of set up. It isn't going to be perfect, and I'm going to have to finagle some stuff and support it with cork tape or something so that way it doesn't rub out. But for now, I have it secured with a zip tie, and I have someone here to help me. People always ask me how I purge with nitrogen on an open line. You have these little step bits. This is made by JB. You can just shove it in there, put your nitrogen regulator on braze. I'm using the VN 500, I think. Yeah, VN 500. So it's very slowly purging nitrogen, and it's running through and then coming out, this guy right here. So We're gonna get this guy sweat in real quick, and then we'll do the other side too. Boy, that was not the prettiest. I burnt the hell out of that dryer, but it'll be okay. I can't do that joint until we finish everything up. I also found the problem was one of these wires, it actually shorted out somewhere on here. I can't remember where, but one of these wires rubbed out on there and blew a hole in that line. So I'm going to yank them all the way back, and then we'll repair them and put them back when we're all done. So that way all the wires will be out of my way when I put this condenser back too. This really is a chore. So we got the condenser back in and everything fits, but man, stuff is rubbing together. So we're really going to have to do some work to make sure nothing rubs holes. I got everything fit in, so I need to braze this joint, need to braze this joint, and so this joint and this joint and this joint. So we have 3 braze joints here. Oh yeah, and this one back here. It's a pain, but we're getting there. All right, not the prettiest braze joints in the world, but we got this one, we got this one, we got this one, and we got that one back there. Everything's on. I'm just sweeping the system with nitrogen right now. And then we're gonna do a pressure test here in just a few minutes. It's almost cooled down enough to where I can grab it. That looks like it's holding real good. So yeah, we're getting there. And then we gotta figure out all the stuff so that way, like this is rubbing on top of the dryer. We gotta figure all that out. That's the fun part. So we're looking good on the pressure test. We're at 169.5. We have 0 PSI change. It's been running for 18 minutes. I'm gonna go ahead and let it keep sitting there, and I'm gonna go get my vacuum rig. I'm working on doing electrical right now, just trying to secure everything so that way it doesn't rub out anymore. And we're just working, we're doing a little bit at a time. We got the blower assembly in, rebuilt. It's got a new wheel, shaft bearings. We're going to get a new belt, and then we're gonna try to line up this stupid pulley because these brackets, they always sag, so you end up having to shim them underneath those guys. So we're just working on all that, getting there. Get the vacuum running. When we're all done too, I'm gonna go ahead and clean this condenser. I just didn't want to clean it when it was out. It's really not that dirty. I looked down inside. The inner coil's really not bad at all, so we'll just do it a rinse, and we'll rinse the whole inside of the unit out once I get it all brazed up. Or I mean, once I get it vacuumed down and all my tools cleaned up. It sucks dragging all this stuff up here, but I brought my water tank up here and my Easy Up. And yes, it takes more time to set up. When we got up here this morning, it was only about 90 degrees. Today, I believe the temperature is supposed to hit like 115, 116, maybe even higher. So it really does pay off to spend the extra time setting this stuff up. So that way, you know, you're not getting killed and you can drink water like a fish. So I just have one of the Yeti cups and go from there. I went ahead and chose to go with Sporlan catch-alls as usual. I really like the Sporlan dryers. I said this on one of my recent videos before. I have never personally had it happen, but I've heard horror stories about the little beads breaking apart in other manufacturers' dryers. Me personally, I have never seen that, but the horror stories that I've heard have made me not want to have that problem. I've always liked the Sporlan catch-all dryers, and they seem to do a really good job. Basic, I keep one of these in my van to show you guys, but basic cutaway, you know, it's a solid core desiccant, and you know, the refrigerant goes through. But I've always liked these. They've always done me really well personally. So you know, normally I probably wouldn't have gone with a double dryer setup. In the past, I probably would have done just one dryer, put it on the cooling side and called it a day. But you know, whenever possible, it's best to go ahead and change the heating dryer too. These carriers don't even cut. It's more or less a strainer that was on there before. I have one right here. It's a strainer and a check valve, this itty bitty little thing. So I mean, it might have some, no, it doesn't even look like it has any drying capabilities. It just looks like a strainer. So very important, especially since this system was flat, potentially pulling in moisture. We've had a lot of humidity out here in the desert, so you know, that oil could be contaminated, and we want everything in there trying to protect it and clean it as much as possible. We're going to try to pull a nice good vacuum on it right now. I'm going to get that all set up, and then I'll finish up the electrical. And looks like we're at 0.2 pressure differential after 38 minutes. I'm still very satisfied with that, so we're going to let this roll, get the vacuum started. Got the vacuum pump running, got the gas ballast open over here. You can see by the red indicator. Until we get down to about 1,500 microns, and then we're going to close the gas ballast. By opening it, what it does is it saves the vacuum pump oil. It runs it without pulling it all through the oil, so that way it doesn't potentially contaminate the oil. So you can do your initial pull down, get most of the air and moisture out of the system, and then once you get to about 1,000, 1,500-ish, I close it and then go from there. So I'm pulling through both sides right now. I like to leave these things somewhat like kind of cracked closed, because there can tend to be a little air pocket in there that gas gets stuck in. So I went ahead and put new connectors. I have these compressor connection kits that work good, and then we'll secure the lines nice and good and get the cover put back on and do something to make those look half-ass pretty. But I cleaned up the connections right here too. What I do is, I've shown this before, I think I have a giant mess over here, but I have these fitting brushes that I use to clean refrigeration lines. I just cut the ends off, and I'll use these, put them in the drill, and just sand up the electrical fittings. That way we get good connections there. So it's a hot one today. It's 110 under the easy up. Imagine what it is in the sun. I was just doing my best to try to secure all the lines, the dryers, that way they're not rubbing out. Securing all the wiring so that way it's not rubbing out, using zip ties. Yeah, so that's looking good. The vacuum's doing good. We're at about 795 microns, and that's with this side valved off. So we're pulling just from one side. So we're doing good. We'll do let it run a little bit longer, and I'm going to start cleaning up all my messes. On these carrier units, these motor brackets always flex and the motor doesn't sit straight, so 2 washers usually fixes it. Makes it line up and makes it nice and true so it sits in there right, and that'll stop the uneven wear. Nice and tight. Everything's looking good. So we're just about done with the evacuation, and just gonna start cleaning up even more stuff. All right, I purged with refrigerant all the way to the hoses with these ball valves off. Made sure I got all the air out of the lines. Opened these up, let a little bit of pressure in, took off the micron gauge, zeroed out my scale, and we're gonna go over here. I believe this thing takes like 10 pounds of gas. 11.3 pounds of R22. So we're gonna get going on this. Let's see, let's make sure we're zeroed out on here. Yep, there's the scale weight right there. Let me hit 0. Cool. Open up the high side. Open this guy up. Open this guy up. Let it charge into the system. Hopefully it'll take the full charge and we won't have to turn it on. That would be nice, huh? Bam. Lucky me, it took the full charge. Sweet. All right, cool. The cool thing about that is that way I can rinse the unit with the top off still. So I was gonna rinse out all this stuff out of the bottom real quick, give it a quick rinse on the condenser. Like I said, I already looked down inside and it's not dirty on the second row. Got it all rinsed up. We're charged up. Rinsed underneath the compressor and all that crap. Got just right down in here was a little bit dirty in this corner, but literally all right here I can see straight down here and it's nice and clean. All right, we got the top back on. Now, I didn't quote this job originally. There's a couple things I would have done differently. Had I known this was an aftermarket motor, I would have quoted for a new motor. I don't have one, so this is what it is, but I had to tape everything up. The other thing is just by rotating the indoor blower motor, I could hear that the bearings are starting to fail on it. It's probably still fine. I'd have loved to have money in this. Oh, there might even be enough room here, but I'd really like to get rid of this stuff. I'm gonna talk to them because I kind of want to change that motor and get rid of that fan motor. So maybe we'll do that, and we'll get in here and fix this electrical like I've been doing, so we don't have all this extra crap right here too. But okay, well, we're gonna connect this condenser fan motor and get it started up and make sure everything works. Let's see what happens here. Hopefully nothing blows up. Indoor blower motor started. Let's wait for this to start. Yeah, vibration's much better. It's just a slight unit vibration, but nothing scary. Condenser fan motor's running. Something's going on here because my suction pressure is not dropping. Well, it might take a minute though. Let's give it a second. No, but my head pressure's not rising either. Something's wrong here. All right, let's open this up. You got to be smarter than the average bear. I had these closed still. Silly idiot. All right, now we've got pressure. So suction pressure's a little bit low, but we're gonna let it run here and see what's going on. It's rising. Let's give it a minute. I had messed with that reversing valve, so I could have screwed it. All right, we're gonna let it run and see what happens here. Time just timed out, and we'll let it run for a little bit. discharging nice good heat out of it right now. So everything's looking good so far. We'll get some TDs on it and stuff too. Man, look at how close that liquid line is. It's about a ½ inch away. That sucks. All right, well, we're gonna turn this on. We're gonna take some stuff down and I'm gonna go get my probes. All right, my unit has been running for a few minutes now. Let's go ahead and take a look at what we got going on in here. So it's 121, 122 degrees outside right now. It's kind of ranging. Let's see. So we're profiled as a 6-ton. Superheat's not bad at all. Subcooling's not bad. It's calling for 5, but I'm not going to sweat that. Subcooling's 17, and that's a skewed number because it's using discharge line pressure instead of liquid line pressure. So again, this thing's looking really good. Yes, the outdoor air is kind of changing. It's pretty good. The discharge line temp is like right on the cusp of being too hot, but I mean, considering the outdoor air temperature. Let's see what else we got going on in here. We have really high return air temperature. This unit uses attic temperature as the return. It actually uses a common, they have a very small attic about 12 inches tall, and it's a common return for this AC and this AC on their like patio area. This used to be an outdoor patio and it's been covered and enclosed. So we always run high on that. Let's go in here. So temperature split's a little bit high. I don't doubt that the airflow is a little funky. It's funny though because we're pegged on the pressure scale. Yeah, this thing's looking great. We amped out all the motors. I don't like that this is an aftermarket motor, but it's working. We amped it out. It's running 2.3. It's allowed to run 3.2. We also tested the indoor blower motor. I believe it's allowed to run 5.8, and we're running like 3 amps right now, so that's doing good too. Yeah, we're pretty much going to wrap this one up. I'm going to talk to the customer, you know, recommend that we consider replacing that indoor blower motor, fixing this wiring, maybe change that contactor, and swap out that motor. But I doubt they're going to do it because the AC is working right now, and I don't blame them. So these things run hard. I realistically think we'll get another year, maybe 2 out of this unit, and then it'll be time to change it. But you know, that's their decision to make, not mine.
All right, that was a hot day. Okay, it started out in the 90s. I think at one point in the video, I think I showed like 110 or something like that. And then as we were leaving, it was 120. 121, I think, was the highest that Measure Quick said. And that was not really like in direct sunlight. That was more or less in just partial sunlight in the shade. The hard part was getting all that stuff that we had on the roof across the roof, okay? It's really difficult to keep your wits about you when you get into a day like that. That's why you really need to mentally prepare ahead of time, or at least that's how I do it. So I knew the night before what was going on. I went ahead the night before and did as much driving around as I could, wrangling up the parts, finding the check valves, the dryers. When you do jobs like that, so I didn't diagnose that unit, okay? Someone else did, and I had a few vague pictures, but I was like trying to go back the day before and think like, okay, what kind of dryer does that unit have? Trying to remember in the back of my head what they did, because I didn't know if I needed to get a biflow. I knew it was a heat pump. So, you know, and then I found one picture, one tiny picture that showed just a glimpse of the strainer and the check valve. And that's when I knew, okay, I need to get, you know, new check valves. And because I wanted to go in with Sporlan catch-alls, I knew that I needed to get a different check valve because I was going to need to move things around. The little dryer that they use is like tiny. I shouldn't even call it a dryer. It's just a strainer. So it's real important to understand the way that those systems work, okay? Understand the reason why we have those check valves, essentially, so that way the refrigerant doesn't flow the wrong direction, you know, and contaminate, you know, mix liquid refrigerant with vapor refrigerant. It would just be a nightmare, okay? So just trying to plan ahead really helps me out. The night before, I packed up the van. I had everything loaded. I knew I needed to leave super early because we were having the restaurant get there early because of the heat. So we had them arrive early. We arrived early. We already had everything packed up. I had the water jug packed up. The only thing I didn't have was I had forgotten the belt. That's all. So we had to send, I had another person with me, so I sent him to the supply house to get the belt. And other than that, we had everything else on the roof that we needed to. I just like to be super prepared for those things and try to plan for the worst case scenario. So in that situation, I was on a remote roof, on the other side of the building that was away from everything else. So we brought as much stuff over as we could. We put up the Easy Up right quick. We brought a water hose over. We had everything ready so that way it just made everything go smoother. Okay. And we took lots of breaks too. Really important when you're working in that kind of heat, because it's really easy, at least for me, to get super into the zone and not pay attention to myself. Okay. In the past, I would have done that job without an Easy Up and I would have been over there dying, and it's like, man, what a difference the Easy Up does just to keep the sun off of you, just for a little bit, and to keep the main area you're working cooler, I should say. I didn't do it this time, but I've gone as far as wearing like headscarves that I soak in water. I really didn't have to do that. Okay. When I work in the heat like this, I wear long sleeve shirts. I wear an undershirt that wicks the sweat away, but the long sleeve shirt keeps the sun off my arms. I really like that. It's just the Dickies work shirts. They work really well for me. All right. So in the video, I kind of mentioned that there's a few things that I would have done differently had I quoted it. Now I realize, okay, maybe some of you guys may have thought, well, why didn't you just do it? Because this was a quoted job with a particular customer, and this particular customer, I didn't want to change anything. Plus, it was already hot enough. I didn't want to try to redo anything else. I wanted to spend the least amount of time on that roof as possible. Now, there is some other issues, such as the electrical, that main wiring that I said I wanted to fix. As I was reviewing the footage, I realized that there wasn't a bushing protecting the wire, or a chase nipple protecting the wire. It was just running through an open hole. I definitely want to fix that stuff, but again, I wasn't trying to reinvent the wheel, basically. Okay, I just wanted to get the unit operational, get everything working, so that way I could get out of there. Now, I arrived on site around 6 a.m. and I left around 2:45 p.m. So we were there for a good 8 hours, and it took me about an hour and a half to get out to the location. So I think I arrived on site at 6:30 because, yeah, I left my house at 5 a.m. It took me an hour and a half to get out there. So it was a long day, to say the least, okay? And there's a very good possibility we're going to be going back there soon, because there was some other issues that I had found. They had another AC that wasn't working. And, yeah, so we'll probably have some more video footage of that too. But I try to be as prepared as possible and try to take as many breaks as possible. We were drinking water like a fish. I think between the two of us, I think when we were all done, I think we drank 2 or 3 gallons of water between the two of us. There was many times, not many times, but there was 1 or 2 times where we both went downstairs, cooled off in the building, and then actually walked into the walk-in cooler. Now, that's another thing I want to address too. Being very careful not to shock your body. So what we did the first time, when we did it together, was we both were starting to remove stuff from the roof. And we both kind of acclimated in the building for about 10 minutes. Okay, just the normal condition space, about 77 degrees, 76 degrees. Acclimated in there for about 10 minutes, and then we both walked into the walk-in cooler. But we had long sleeve shirts on, so our bodies weren't shocked with the cold, but it just really helped us to cool off. You got to be very careful about coming from the really hot roof and then immediately walking into a walk-in cooler or walk-in freezer, because you'll go into shock, and you don't want to do that. That'll create more problems than you need. It'll make you get sick and all kinds of things. Okay, so you want to try to acclimate slowly, and don't go from one extreme to the other really quick, because it won't be good. But yeah, just make sure you guys take lots of breaks. When it comes time to being prepared, okay, on these jobs too, obviously that really is dangerous, working in 120 degrees, okay? Because usually by the time you feel the symptoms, it's too late. Okay, if you start to feel, nauseous when you're working on a roof like that, it's too late. Okay, you need to keep on top of that stuff. There's been many times in the past, especially when I was younger, that I didn't pay attention to my body. And I was like, I'll be fine. I'm almost done. I'll just work through it, And there's nothing worse. Now, I've never personally had a heat stroke. That's not something that you want to go through, I imagine, because it's not good for your body. But I've had heat exhaustion many times. And it's not good. So, as I get older, you obviously hopefully get wiser. And I'm very conscious of everything that's going on. Drinking water like crazy, taking breaks, staying out of the sun as much as possible. Try not to exert yourself. Trying to be smart too. So every time we had to go down to the truck to go get something, we took something down with us, okay? We try to, be as efficient as possible. And we tag teamed, taking all the stuff off the roof. We did it together is for the most part when we did the big bulk of it, But yeah, just being prepared. That's the biggest thing. Having as many of the things that you need up on the roof with you. That way you don't have to make multiple trips back and forth. The least amount of trips, the better. Walking across the roof, it gets really hot. We were lucky today in that it was today. Well, duh. This video is being released the day after I did that job. So we were really lucky that there was no humidity because they have been having monsoonal moisture coming through there, and it's been kind of humid. Today it was rather dry. I'd say it was 20-25% humidity. So it was super dry, and that made it a little bit more comfortable. Okay, so it was just that dry heat. It's still, 120 degrees still is ridiculous. Okay. Now, one thing I did do today that I probably shouldn't have done was I worked through my lunch. I probably shouldn't have done that because, food actually, so I don't eat breakfast. So, I hadn't eaten anything since the night before, and I worked until 2 o'clock, and then I ate my lunch at 2 o'clock. Probably not the smartest thing, I'm trying to get better at that stuff, but still I get in that zone where it's like, man, I need to power through this. I'm almost there, and probably not the smartest thing in the world to do. So do as I say, not as I do, kind of a thing. But yeah, energy and stuff like that comes from the food that you eat and everything too. So taking care of your body really does help you on these jobs. And there's always room for improvement for me too. So, hey, I've been rambling long enough. I really, really appreciate you guys taking the time to watch this videos. Hey, you know what? Now that I think about it, I totally forgot to mention it. You guys are killing it on the hat orders and the shirt orders, man. Thank you guys so very much. My gosh, I think I'm down to like 30 hats or something left, and I've already got another order on order. So thank you guys so very much. And I think I mentioned this on my last video or on my live stream or something, but I'm working on beanies too for the winter time. Those will be coming soon. So I'm working on some different designs, and I just ordered up some samples. So hopefully we'll have those soon. So that'll be kind of cool. But again, if you guys are interested, the merch is available on hvacrvideos.com. If you guys are considering purchasing any tools, check out truetech.tools.com. Use my offer code BIGPICTURE, one word. You get 8% off your order. I get a small commission. It does help to support the channel. So thanks for doing that if you guys are considering any tool purchases. And yeah, that's pretty much it. We will catch you guys Monday evening, 5 p.m. Pacific on YouTube when I go live and just discuss all these different videos and answer questions and emails and all that good stuff. Okay, so appreciate it. Oh yeah, and don't forget, I totally forgot. We got the overtime show this Friday around 6:15 p.m. on the HVAC overtime channel. Myself, A-Team Adam Muffich, Joe, HVACR North, and Curious HVAC guy, Bill. Sorry, your name skipped my mind. You're so forgettable, Bill. So your name just totally skipped my mind for a minute. But anyways, no, Bill's a good dude. So we'll be on there just discussing random. We do the cool hangout kind of a show on Friday evenings. So come check that out too, okay? We will catch you guys on the next one.